Welcome to the Crazy Cool Family Podcast with Don and Suzanne Manning. Parents, what if we could give you the power to transform your family into something absolutely amazing?
A family where everyone is healthy, gets along, loves Jesus, and has great purpose in life.
Hey, let us flip your thinking to unlock the power God has given you to create your own Crazy Cool family. Hello, Crazy Cool parents, and welcome to the Crazy Cool Family Podcast with Don and Suzanne and about 7 other people, which happen
Not
to be...
just people, they're our children, our offspring.
Yes, we have all
the fruit of our labors.
Yes, we have
This
all
is the part where we go, hello. Guys, come on.
So we are so excited to bring our whole family here. We are, everyone's together for Christmas, and so we took some time just to talk about...
to gather the fam around the kitchen table.
Yeah, exactly.
Talk to you. That's what we want to do.
And we are going to talk today about, well, you know, in our book, we have, we'd love for you to get our book, but in the book, actually Molly, our oldest, which we'll introduce in just a second, she was the one who started the book. She said, I made the comment to the family, I wanted to start writing a book, and Molly went and wrote like thousands of words, and it gave me the idea to put the kids in the book, and so we started to write, and all the kids have voices in the book, and so we have a compilation of things in there. They speak to things, and it's just an amazing. But we'd like for you to hear from them themselves today. You know, a lot of times it's just Don and Suzanne talking, but we want to talk to them, or even have a grandchild you're hearing in here.
So hopefully you'll hear her gurgle.
Yeah.
And so the name of the book is called Crazy Cool Family, and we just talk about rethinking the way you do family. And like Don said, everybody put their 2 cents in, so it's a culmination of all of our words on what it looks like to be family. That's really what we are talking about. And so specifically today on this podcast, we want to the book has Pursue God, Build Relationships, and Create Culture. It's broken down into 3 different sections. And within the section Culture, we have a little subsection called the family name. And that's what we want to talk about, because what we did is we raised our kids as being a Manning. You're a Manning. A Manning, you know, what are some of the things we would say that a Manning did? Somebody? Anybody?
Go for it. Manning loves and serves.
Okay, yeah.
Manning doesn't say shut up or stupid. Bad consequences for that one.
A Manning always has their room clean before they go to bed.
A Manning doesn't lock doors.
Yeah, we don't lock doors.
Or slam them.
Slam doors.
Yeah, but you know, and it's funny. When we first taught this a decade ago, we just kind of threw that in because it was something that we just did as a family. It was, if you were a Manning, you did this, and if you were a Manning, you didn't do that. And we didn't really think a lot of it, but a lot of parents really hung on that and said, oh my goodness, that's such a great concept. We use that now. If you're a Smith, you don't do this, or if you're a Johnson, you don't do this, or whatever. And so we do this. And so we found, but we really wanted to. That's kind of the theme of the podcast, but we really just wanted you to get a picture of who the Manning kids are, and why, what it was like to be in our family, and what, you know, it certainly wasn't all perfect and wasn't all rosy all the time, but you know, but out of it has come a family where we really do have 7 kids that love Jesus, love each other, love us, and it really is a wonderful thing that God has created, and we love to share it with you more. So let's just start out really by introducing everyone. I think it'll be good to we'll start from the top. Molly.
Okay, hey, I'm Molly.
Hi, Molly.
We're laughing because Mom and Dad both do a really great job of like making podcast notes, and so we can all gather and organize our thoughts. So Mom has all of us listed out, and then she like put random words down kind of that describe us but are also really hilarious. So she wrote Molly, oldest and one in charge, and I feel good about that definition. I'll take that. But I'm Molly. The oldest, I'm married. I have 1 kid, a boy, and I live close to Mom and Dad. So that adds a fun element of continuing to learn and parent as a Manning.
I am Madeline, and I'm the 2nd oldest, and I'm married to a guy named Larry, which is a funny name. And I have 2 babies, And I don't really have anything else to say. I love to play basketball. I really do. I actually really love it a lot, and I want to play every day. I'm not even joking. I know that's so random, but I really do. Every day I want to play basketball.
Mom put, yeah, Manny's play basketball, but Mom put on her thing, Madeline, bring the goofiness. There you go.
There you go. My name's Macy. I'm the third. I am also married as of this year, and I would say I bring a lot of the emotional dynamics. Ken's is next, and she'll talk a little bit more about the depth, but I think I bring like the emotion and also all the games. I love getting people around a table. I love playing games. I love beating people at Sorry and Skip-Bo and really anything that I can win. So that's me.
I'm Mackenzie, and I am the middle, the youngest of the girls, but the oldest of the boys. And I'm not, but I like to hang out with them. And with that, I'm often the
With the
one
brothers,
who,
that is.
Yes, I'm often the one who brings in the deep conversations and loves the one-on-ones. And so that is, who I am.
I am Michael. I am the fifth. I am the first boy, the oldest boy, so 4 sisters, and then came me.
AKA 5 moms.
AKA 5 moms is right. I'm a student at the University of Arkansas. I live there with Mackenzie and Madeline. And yeah, me and Mackenzie kind of get to be the ones that bridge the olders versus the older to the younger side of the family.
Fight to the death.
And yeah, Michael, take it away.
Yeah, I am Maddox, also known as the second to last one, and
But not dead last.
but not dead last. So I just finished my first year of driving, so exploring new freedoms and new things that are happening. There's quite a gap between the oldest and the youngest, and so me and Makeda have been kind of together at the youngest, which is a really cool dynamic that we've really got to explore this year, being the only ones alone. And so, but we haven't really been alone because Corona brought everyone to the house, and so
Back home again.
yeah, that's me.
I'm Cade. I am the dead last. And
That's not your identity.
I mean, I am the baby of the family, and I am at Argyle Middle School. And yeah, I've had Max as my buddy for a while. He's kind of been my second parent because.
Or your first.
Oh, yeah.
We went into grandparenting
Yeah.
when you came along. Yeah.
And so he's been a pretty good parent. And
Yeah, he's a good parent. That's good.
Yeah, so as we talk about family name and we talk about just what it was like to be Manning, maybe think about some things that were, you guys grew up and had a lot of friends and things, and what was different about your family experience, about your upbringing that made you think about being a Manning?
I feel like it's always so hard when Mom and Dad do these podcasts with any of us because we all just look at each other like, who's going to talk first? Yeah, I guess it's going to be me. I'm the one in charge. So, Madeline, you're next. Kate, you're after that. I can talk a little bit about the practical part of being a Manning, as in, they picked for us to always hang out together as the first option. So they definitely wanted us to have friends, and we, had a lot of involvement in church, but we also, it was kind of like, well, we're going to hang out with each other first, and then we'll see who's available after that. Or Mom would say, we're not going to bring a friend over. You already have too many siblings at our house. And in that translated to, a lot of our friends were taking friends on trips, or we even got to sometimes be that friend that went on a trip, but we never brought friends on trips because we had each other to hang out with, and that was kind of always we have each other. So I felt like that was different. Something else that was different, at least like that seared into my brain, that I didn't necessarily understand or agree with younger, but now 100% Damien and I will do, is we didn't spend the night at people's houses. Manning's just, we for whatever, a lot of reasons that we could get into, but mom and dad just kind of always wanted us back home together under one roof. And because like Madeline wasn't doing it, it was fine that I didn't get to do it either, or vice versa. So I feel like there was a lot of different things like that Mannings just didn't do, but because I knew that, none of my siblings were doing it too, it was okay because we were kind of all in it together.
Yeah, when we got to, I think later on, as like the older got out of the house, the younger guys got to spend the night, and mom and dad got maybe a little less strict on the rules.
But I think there's like this huge difference between the way Molly was raised and the way McCade is raised.
There was always a rule that you couldn't spend the night twice. Like there was no way that was going to be
happening.
Like
2 nights in a row?
2 nights in a row,
Yeah.
You always had to come back, and I think there's always... We just wanted to be home more than we wanted to be maybe out with our friends every single night. We were always like, no, I'll stay home. I'll stay home to hang out with the family or be around the siblings.
Mm-hmm. One statement that comes to mind a lot is it's a lot easier to stand alone when you have someone with you. Yes. And that was what it was like to be a Manning, where, I found other people throughout my childhood and growing up of people that would stand with me, but it started first with my siblings. And I got to learn what it was like to stand with someone being set apart. And that started with our family. And I just think about through all of the schooling that we went through, our siblings went first and created a great reputation. To where then the next sister came in, or the next sibling came in, and it was even a better reputation because we were going from glory to glory, like linear. We were going up, building on each other's experiences and creating better reputation. I've heard a lot of my friends who had siblings that did not create a good reputation, and so then they had to mend it or fix it, or they didn't create a good reputation for their siblings. But being a Manning meant that you had a good reputation.
I just get some mom and dad took that so literally, like you're never standing, or what is it? I can't even think of it.
It's a lot easier to stand alone
when you have someone to stand alone with. Is that like we would be going on road trips in Colorado, and there would be, we'd all be like asleep or talking to each other, or it'd be like the 1 hour we were allowed to listen to our iPads, and mom would say, "Oh my gosh, look at that tree in the field. See how there's no trees around it? That's a standalone tree, but it's growing so tall and strong. Even though it's all by itself, it's making its own choices and it's separating itself from the group, and it's still thriving. That's what I want." I think one year she like took a picture and framed it, or had Kinsey draw it. There's like a tree in our neighborhood that you put lights on that's like a standalone tree, and we all know about it. So like they definitely drilled that concept into our head as a Manning.
Well, and I feel like so far we've talked about Mannings don't do this, but there are actually a lot of things that we did do. Yeah. And speaking to parents specifically, like your kids don't know what they don't know. I think I said that in the last podcast too. And so there was a sheltering or a protection that was built into our family culture. And our parents said, Mannings do this or Mannings are this to help us build and understand that culture. Like there are things even now that I'm learning that I'm like, wow, I had no idea that's how the world worked, or like this is what's happening this way. Oh, this is how this family does it, or this family culture. And it's like there was a protection element, and that you have to be intentional. If you're wanting to create that, you have to have some sort of language or verbiage to build culture. And that's what the family name was. It helped us understand, oh, this is what we do as a family, and it creates life, it creates relationship, it creates like rhythms for our family. It's so important. But I don't think any of us could have actually verbalized that when we were 6, 7, 8. It was just, oh, this is what I do. Monkey see, monkey do. Just kind of following the leader kind of thing.
Well, so to piggyback on that, what we did was intentionality. So we were intentional. We were just talking about just this Christmas, talking about when they were little, and we would, whatever they got for Christmas, that evening they would lay it all out, and Don would video it, and it would come across, it would be they'd do a show or whatever that is, and the in-laws were going, why in the world would you do that? And we're like, oh, we had a purpose and a plan. I mean, the purpose was that so once they laid it all out, they could see how grateful, they could see how I got a toothbrush and toothpaste and just be grateful for all of that. And so that's part of the family, and that's part of building culture is intentionality, to have a purpose and a plan behind whatever it is that you're doing. If you just put a little bit of thought into it, then that's what knits the family together.
And there's also intentionality in the way that y'all pursued us. Like there's whether that's dates or gifts or making a meaningful spiritual experience whenever it came. Yeah. Like really discipleship. Like y'all, as much as y'all did protect us, y'all were also honest about the world. You weren't as we were sheltered in a bubble for sure, but we were also shown things. You know, I told my friends things that they never heard before, and like because
And that's the difference between the older kids parenting and the younger kids
that's
parenting.
probably true. But rather that's conversations about challenging with the faith or politics or what this person said to me, anything about that.
Yeah.
There was honesty, and I knew, and vulnerability from y'all that I knew, and with all the family and all the siblings, that I could challenge and I could struggle with something. And even if you didn't have the answer, we could struggle together. And so there's a lot of vulnerability that comes with that.
I think something too that Manning's did that was different, like you even have on here something that other families might have thought was bizarre, is that, and going off of what you said, Maddox, that they still wanted us to have world, like be not influenced by the world, but be experienced, like, and have a concept and a worldview. And so they worked very hard to get us on mission trips instead of going to camps. And sometimes we would go on both if we could raise the amount of money, if the timing worked out. You know, some years we didn't go into camp at all. Some years we only maybe went to camp, but it was a camp that was missionally focused. And for our family, Mom and Dad made that decision because that's what they felt like God told them. And I think that's important for every family to consider that every summer, what God is saying, what the Holy Spirit is prompting you to. But, you know, there's a lot of times where our views of the world or the things we were exposed to came from being on a mission trip, as opposed to maybe like a locker room or church camp or even any kind of sports camp or anything like that. And I mean, it was really beneficial because we got to see the world and see different cultures, but at the same time under the concept of, let me tell you about the gospel.
Well,
And I would even argue under the banner of mission, not vacation.
Right.
Like we didn't take a bunch of random overseas trips to, not that that's bad. It's just when we went, we were sent.
Yeah,
It wasn't for our pleasure. It was for kingdom purpose, which was
And we had raised
foreign, to other people as a sacrifice to go in some ways.
Well, and I think it's interesting that, you know, we've talked about this a lot, that we, over the span, we learned a lot about parenting, that we overprotected our older kids, and we probably underprotect our younger kids now, that they get the benefit from that. But still, in all of it, because we learned a lot, and so, you know, and over about where we may have gone overboard as first-time parents and things like that, and we're always counseling first-time parents on that. But still, even with Maddox and McCade, even though they're exposed probably more to the world than, say, Molly and Madeline were, we're still after their hearts. And we're still, when they get, we talk about things with them. So we may let them watch TV shows that we didn't let Molly and Madeline watch. But as we're talking about as they're watching them, we're talking about the TV shows with them, and we're pursuing them in that, where they realize that the heart is important and the name is still important, and what they're doing, what Maddox and what McKay's doing at Argyle Middle School right now is important to what it's more than just him. It's about it's about the name, and it's about reputation, and it's about being more than just him, but representing the family, representing God, and that plays out through all of our kids.
Yeah.
Anybody else? We want to move on to the next question, which is somewhat similar. So the next thing that we want to ask you guys is, what's one thing that the world doesn't know about growing up as a Manning, being a Manning, the Manning name? What's something, and I guess we just kind of the same thing. We kind of shared some of those things. But just as you're thinking about all the families out there that don't have teenagers and young adults yet, they still have little kids. And so go back to little kid, when you were a little kid, what is it that we maybe did right or maybe did wrong that you could tell these parents about, so that they could either not do it or implement it?
I know me and Kinsey did a podcast on this earlier in the year, but the power of creative play and getting out and doing things. I have so many memories throughout my childhood and even into middle school and high school of us being able to create and play, like create play and then actually play for hours and hours and hours. And I feel like this generation growing up is so infatuated and obsessed with screens, and it's a parent's default to get them in front of a screen because it entertains them. Molly, you raising your hand over there?
Yeah, guilty.
Guilty. But I'm not a parent, so I can't speak to the craziness of parenting. I'm only watching my sisters do it, but there was something created in family culture, and so I believe it's still possible. Like, the power of play is still out there, and getting toys and getting things that kids can fall in love with and learn to play with for hours on end it's the best thing I think we did as kids, because then when I got into high school and college, I like created the play. Like I would invite all my friends over and we would do something fun, and the world did it really differently. Fun in the world's eyes is so different than mine. And I think creating that as a kid was so important and valuable.
I think that something Mom was saying was how they were intentional with us. And I think that is something like that intentionality started when we were 0. Like before I can even remember, there's like words and phrases that are still playing through my head that's like, siblings are best friends. Siblings don't fight. We love each other. We honor each other. We celebrate each other. Or, people are more important than TV or shows or whatever it is that was like intentional verbiage that they used, or just the time that our parents took to think things out, that I'm realizing now as a parent that I start now. I say, Truett, you and Everly are best friends. We love her. You are her protector. You are someone, you're like, I'm saying these words to Truett that in a month, in a week, in 6 months, in 10 years, he's going to still be playing through his head, because the intentionality starts at 0. Yeah. And so I don't know if like guys, people listen to podcasts and follow Crazy Cool Family on social media and all of that, like all of the stuff that is happening now and the messages that they're preaching started when we were 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And they just like keep integrating it into our lives to where we have an example of how to parent, but then we are like living proof of the intentionality from the beginning when we like started at 0. And so it's not just like, and like the encouragement or like for all of you out there is like, you can start today. Like intentionality starts right now for you today in whatever area, whether it's through Christmas or through New Year's or whatever it is. It's like the intentionality can start today and can like be integrated into your family today, and you'll see the fruit soon, today. Actually, like really soon, like really soon.
Yeah, and what I want to encourage parents with that is that when we started, we didn't know what those messages were going to be. We learned them and that's what we want to do for you at Crazy Cool Family, is we want to give you those messages the messages we've learned over 30 years, because you get them and all of a sudden it's like, hey, here's a new message. And then we're going to instill, and Suzanne and I would talk about it, and we're going to instill this, and it takes time and it takes energy, but when you do it, your kids start to repeat them back to you. And that's when you really know they've got it, is when they own the message. And for our older kids, they would start telling it to the younger kids. Hey, you're going to do this. Yeah.
Yeah. I two quick things. One, what Madeline's saying about the intentionality is that also don't be afraid to also fail and then communicate that to your kids. So there's a lot of times, and I only have one 20-month-old son who is an incredible toddler. He's just amazing. But there are days where I look up and I haven't done the intentional play. And there's a lot of, Bash, go in your room and get this and bring it out to me. Bash, go to your toolbox and pull the hammer out and put it in your thing while I'm trying to like cook dinner or clean up. And I remember thinking, okay, Mom didn't play with us all day, every day. There are definitely days where she said, oh my gosh, guys, I'm so sorry I got distracted. Or there are days where she went to bed and the kitchen, the dishes were full in the sink. And so just also give yourself grace that start the intentionality now. But if there's a whole day that goes by where you don't state your family mission, it's okay. Do it the next day. And then I have one other thing to add too, is that Mom and Dad, like also as just out there, and something now that I'm older, don't be afraid to talk about spiritual things with your kids. And you might think, wow, like that concept is too deep, or they're not going to understand that. But even yesterday, they were, I was here and Bash did something and I said, yeah, buddy, when you get out from under the protection of authority, like bad things can start to happen. Like Satan has a chance to attack you. You're more susceptible to attacks from him. And he's 20 months old. And Damien and I say that to him all the time. I mean, one time at the grocery store, he like just knocked a whole bunch of cans off the counter being disobedient, and he hurt his finger and he got a little blue finger, like his little thumb. And I said, buddy, I'm so sorry that happened to you. Like you got out from under Mommy's protection. And there's a guy that just looked at me and I was like, this is going to work. You come back in 5 years. And so
crazycoolfamily.com.
Yeah. So concepts like that, or concepts like tithing. Dad taught us about tithing, give 10% to the Lord and save 10%. I mean, from getting quarters for doing chores, he was like, let's talk about about tithing. And so don't be afraid to just, if you're going to be, you know, pouring in and dripping in family vision and concepts, pour in and drip in spiritual concepts too that might seem too big. Choose life. You know, we speak life over our family. Mom, I said this so many times in podcasts, but Mom taught us how to fight against the power of darkness by saying, Satan, you're stupid, shut up and go away. And that was the only time we were allowed to say stupid to Satan, you know? And now we have all been in situations where we have, you know, fought powers of darkness because Mom laid that groundwork, which is a heavy concept very early on. So just talk about spiritual concepts. It doesn't even have to be in kid terms. If you want to make it, great. I'm not great at that, but just say it over and over, and eventually it will start to be something that they believe too.
Yeah, that's really true. And there's also, I think especially coming from a guy's perspective, from Maddox and Cade's perspective, it's a little harder to get into a relationship with just males in general, it feels like. But something our dad did really well, especially for the little boys, is whatever we were doing, he did. And so there's multiple times where I would be talking to my friends playing a game, and my dad would join in and play the game with us. And it wasn't weird or it wasn't whatever. But it was
maybe a little weird.
Yeah, like games on our phone. And I was like, oh yeah, my dad's a higher level than you are, my friend. And they're like, what? But that was just a simple, I really do call it opening the door, where that allowed for those deeper conversations, that allowed for the spiritual conversations to be even more effective, is because he was coming and meeting us exactly where we're at, whether that's watching whatever show we're watching, or that's the game we're playing or the sport we're playing. There was a season that Dad and Maddox and I worked out together to train for football. My 50-year-old dad was doing the same workout I was doing as a sophomore in high school. But it just create a foundation and a level where we could talk about those spiritual things.
Well, I think there's certain choices you make. I think that's a great point. And, I couldn't, for example, I chose the Xbox. It was too complicated for me. It was so far beyond me. I said, I'm not doing that because it's going to take hours and hours. But there was a certain game on their phone. I was like, oh, I can play that. And then, of course, I got addicted to it. Okay, let's take a break now, parents.
Let's wrap that one up.
Yeah, we're going to have 2 more podcasts just like that. We've taken one big podcast and broken it up into 3.
One giant recorded podcast, and we broke it into 3.
Because we couldn't get our kids to be quiet.
We did have so much fun sitting around the table, just sharing all those things and getting to talk to you, parent.
Yeah, and we hope that gives you a picture. It is a real picture of our real family. You know what? Another place you get to hear from our kids is in our book. Yeah.
So they helped us write it. They're the ones that actually have all the wisdom. They're the ones that make our family crazy cool.
They're the ones that taught us how to parent.
Most definitely. If it hadn't been for them, we wouldn't even be parents.
So if you haven't picked up our book, Crazy Cool Family, you can go to Amazon. You can get it there.
Yeah, if you have Prime, it's free shipping.
Yeah, or you can also get a electronic copy of our book there as well, or you can order it through our website, crazycoolfamily.com. We'll actually send you an autographed copy if you order it through our website.
It'll take a while to get to you. We're not Amazon.
Exactly. But if you haven't ordered
our books, and if you live out of the country, then you should order through Amazon, because it's impossible for us to get it to you.
Costs like $1,000.
No, more than the book.
So hopefully you enjoyed this podcast, and there's more to come. Yes. And hopefully you would enjoy our book. See you next time.